Hey there, got a 2003 Ford Excursion here. I've just got the key turned to the accessory position. These lights will turn off once it gets going, but this light up here, took me a while to figure out what that is. This indicates that there is an issue with your fuel filter, if what I'm reading online is correct, and says that it may have wax buildup or some restriction in the flow. Makes sense, I haven't changed the filter in a while. These vehicles and a lot of the Super Duties, diesel Excursions and Super Duties, are going to have dual fuel filters, one underneath the vehicle in the frame rail and one up under the hood. So we'll see if that turns off. It's been idling a little rough and I've been meaning to replace this. This light just came on last night, so we'll get underneath here and see what we can figure out. Turn everything off so it doesn't have fuel pressure. You're going to get wet when you do this. You're going to leak a lot of fuel out. Here's the filter we're using. It's a Motorcraft FD4616, and there are two filters. Let's see if I can get these out of here for you. Two filters and two O-ring gaskets. The larger one, I believe, is the one that goes underneath the vehicle, and I don't change it as frequently as I should because it is hard to get to and it's messy. And I'm parked on an incline with the back of my car elevated. You should park with the front of your car elevated when you do this, so you don't have fuel siphoning out of your tank and flowing up to where you're working. So we're gonna get a little more fuel than what you should get, but I don't have a good way to turn the vehicle around and park the other direction. Here we go. So the fuel filter, sorry for all the moving around here. There is your transmission pan, and right next to it, up here in the frame rail, here is your, let's see if I can get to it. There's your fuel pump and fuel filter housing. I believe there's also a fuel heater under here incorporated into that. Let's see if I can get you where you can see some of this. Apologize for the angles. They're not going to be great. Let's see here. All right, here is the cap that you're going to need to take off. And you can buy one of these Ford fuel filter sockets. This will do your fuel and your oil filter. It's a reversible socket. The large size will do your oil filter up top in the engine compartment, as well as the lower fuel filter housing. All right, got a long extension bit. This thing's kind of hard to get to. I did loosen my fuel lines to get them out of the way. Let's see if she'll turn. These can be really stuck on here, but do not use any kind of impact tools. This is just a plastic cap, and if anything breaks, you want to go back with Ford OEM parts. You do not want to buy aftermarket. They tend not to fit well, and you have a lot of fuel or oil flowing past if you're buying aftermarket. I may have to shut off the filming if this thing starts to get a lot of spillage. Not sure if y'all can see what I'm seeing or not. I think you can. Okay, that felt like it probably just about broke the seal loose. Get my fuel filter ready. See if we can make a mess. Especially on these 6-point blow or 6-point no or 6-point piece of junk engines, you want to only use Motorcraft parts. Some of the aftermarket filters do not fit properly. They look like it and they feel like it, but once you actually get them in here, they do not fit properly. So only use manufacturer supplied parts on your filters. Put another extension on there. Okay. Starting to leak a little fuel. I'm gonna grab a catch pan. Okay. See if we can get this cap off of here. Well, there's no way you're not going to get diesel on you. Cup out of there. I am getting covered in fuel. And you got to pull the filter out. I doubt you can see what I'm doing. I had to move the camera. Okay. Well, be time for a shower after this. And it will continue to drip until it drains your fuel tank completely empty if you're on an incline with the back of your car elevated. Okay, that feels pretty solid on there. The cup, I do not know if you'll see what I'm seeing here. The cup has a little gasket on it, a little O-ring gasket. We're gonna get that off. Put the new one on. It's a good idea to put a little bit of engine oil on that, or a little bit of diesel fuel. In my case, got plenty of diesel fuel. So don't need to worry too much about that. Try not to get any dirt in this. I took brake cleaner to the whole underside of this before I started. Sometimes this can be a little difficult to get to re-thread. You want to make sure you don't get it cross-threaded. But that feels pretty much like it's threading in. See if I can get a ratchet on here. And that didn't leak as much as it looked like it did. It was about a quart of diesel came out. You don't want to over torque these. There are torque specs on the cap. I'm not sure right offhand what the torque spec is on this. I just tighten it down until it stops. And don't overdo it. Just hand tight. Because that O-ring is what's going to do all the sealing. All you're going to accomplish by over tightening is to break something. Okay, that sounds pretty good. Get that socket out of here. Gloves full of diesel fuel. All right. Yeah, it looks like she's on there seated just fine. So we'll go up to the top and replace that fuel filter. See if that light goes away. All right, we're up in the engine compartment now, and this little one, this little cap here, this is your upper fuel filter. There is your oil filter cap, and that same universal tool will remove both of those. A little tricky to get to sometimes unless you have a over-the-top creeper to roll over. Okay, we'll try this again. The camera cut out. Here is your upper fuel filter housing lid, cap, whatever you want to call it. That's going to need to come off. There's a fuel filter inside. I've already loosened this and spilled a bunch of diesel. This is your oil filter cap. Again, only ever use OEM parts. There's all kinds of videos and comparisons online if you want to look and see why you should only use OEM. Go ahead and get your reversible bit. You can buy these on Amazon for about $9, that little reversible socket. Okay, let's see here. I had gloves on, but they were full of diesel. Got rid of those. Okay, get your cap, set it down someplace where you're not going to get dirt in it. Fuel filter out. It doesn't look too bad. A little darker than you'd like. Okay, get your new filter. And you can attach this directly to the cap. Makes it a little easier to get it to go back in there. If you do, attach it to the cap first. There we go. And in here, got a little O-ring that you need to get rid of. And put your new one on. Make sure to lubricate the O-ring with some diesel or a little bit of assembly grease or engine oil, just something on that O-ring so it doesn't bind. Start it by hand and then just crank her down till she stops. There's no need to over tighten these. All you're gonna do is break something. It says 14, I don't know what that is, 14 nanonewtons? No, that can't be right. All right. And that is really about all there is to it. See if we can get her to fire up. It can take a couple of tries before you get it to turn over and actually fire, because you've got a lot of air in the system. Okay, I've cycled the pump a few times. Probably gonna cycle it 2 more times and then try to fire it, see if we've got all the air out of the system. When you do this, you introduce quite a lot of air. You fill up the lower fuel filter housing is gonna have a lot of air introduced to it, as will the upper. And it would be good to get as much of that out of your fuel lines as possible before you blow it through your injectors. Okay, try her out. Oh, she fired up a lot easier than usual. That light's still on. Maybe that'll turn off here in a little bit. Neighbors probably love that. Okay, we're gonna fire it up again and see if that light will turn off. If not, we gotta figure out what's going on. We may need to drain the housing. There's a drain plug that was completely stripped by the previous owner or their mechanic. So I don't know that I can drain that housing. Let's see here. Well, that's disappointing, but you know how to change your fuel filter now. And that is the only light that I can't figure out. It says online that it should be a fuel filter restriction code that throws that light, or wax buildup, something in the fuel filter system. But the car sounds a lot better than it did. I should have shown y'all what it sounded like before I replaced the filters. It's idling much nicer right now. All right, well, I hope it was helpful. Thanks for watching. I'll update if I can figure out what makes that light go away. It may turn off after I drive it a few miles.